Did it. All right, let me know if you guys can hear me, and I know there's going to be a display, or a delay. Whew, my brain. I'm trying to see chat. Just bear with me for the first couple minutes here, you guys. All right, I got three people on. Can someone say hello? Hello, hello, hello. This is much different from your phone. All messages are visible. Okay, so I got to click on there. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, well, I'm just going to kind of go over a few things. I don't know why I can't see the messages all the time. I'm learning, you guys. Bear with me. Okay, so... Oh, yay! Hi, Dawn. Okay, so I can kind of see when they pop up. So I will keep a close eye on chat. Okay, you guys, I don't have a really, like, good spot to go live on right now. Hi, Sandy. So, I'm in my room. This is one of my paintings I did. So this channel before this used to be, I did arts and crafts, basically. I did Dutch pour paintings. I do cups. Oh, where is my fancy cup? Oh, there it is. I gotta show you guys because I'm so proud. Mirror, mirror on the wall. I see the darkest of them all. Oh boy. Yep, that's my Lori Vallow cup. So, okay, so let's talk about today. So there was tons of traffic. It was crazy getting there. So I was just like, oh my gosh, am I gonna, you know, they say, thank you, Sandy, my mirror, mirror on the wall. They say, you know, be there at 8:30, right? So I get there at like 8:27, and I'm like literally running to the courthouse, like just booking it. I saw JLR, Jonathan Lee Riches investigates, and I'm like, hi, JLRs. I'm like running past him. Wait a minute. No, it's not that easy, Miss Michelle, to just go live. Hit the go button. No, it don't work that way. Not on the phone. No, it wasn't. I had to go live and then pick that one. So thank you, Michelle. Thank Michelle. So let's talk a little bit. I am a moderator in 50 Shades of Guilty, a group page for. Yeah, phone is different. With 50 Shades of Guilty on Facebook. So if anybody wants to join, that is just new to the case. They have everything you could possibly want in there. Any information that you could possibly need. So, in there, Michelle and Eleni are so kind. They posted all my notes from today as the trial went on. So let's talk about, we've got 10 people in here. Thank you all for being here. I know this, I get excited about 10, you know, and I'm sure there's tons of people that are like, oh, I got 5,000 in my chat. No, I got 11, 10, 11, and I'm very happy. So thank you guys. So I get there, go through security, and then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to start any minute. Oh no. I walk up and there is a line. I mean, everybody that was supposed to be there was in line, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So then I could breathe a little bit because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if because they say if you're late, they're just gonna lock you out. So I mean, it's pretty serious. So we're standing there, and then all of a sudden here comes John Pryor. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you know the talk is that John Pryor, really should be working and not listening to the trial. Well, he's standing behind me. Two, well, he walks by me and I said, hi, Mr. Pryor. And and he kind of looked at me and was like, hi. Like he doesn't know me, but that's a whole nother story. I called him one time. That's another live. Um, but anyway, so he says hi and he's standing behind me, and then there's a couple girls that show up after him. And he shows up and he's talking to her, and I'm kind of over listening, and she's in law school, so she's so she's going on and on. Well, they start talking about the Koberger case, which is the Idaho 4 case up in Moscow. I'm sure most people that are on here have heard about that case if you're into true crime. So he says, well, I think they're going to take a plea deal. And I'm thinking, so I'm listening really closely because I'm like, do you have an inside? Do you know what's going on? So he starts talking about how he thinks they'll take the death penalty off the table, um, and then they'll do a plea deal. So that's his theory on it. And everything I say in here is alleged, entertainment purposes only, Oh, you're so welcome, Julie. I hope that you guys enjoy tonight. I definitely will tell you that I'm going to tell you everything that I feel. I don't hold anything back. I'm going to try not to say any bad words. But I think that I'm coming from this in a different angle than regular news and stuff like that. Um, because I'm really invested in this case. I have watched this case since, I live in Idaho, so I heard about it, very early on in the late 2019. And I have hours and hours and hours invested in this. There was 4 of us originally that, um, were staying up all night, like looking at houses and could Tylee be in this house or that house, or and what roads they came down from Yellowstone, and just so much. Like I was just so invested. My husband will say I was crazy. Because, and I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that did that in the beginning. So, excuse me. Um, so we go in, he's talking about the case. Oh, Justin Lum is so funny. Listen, you guys. So Justin Lum's like, he goes like this, and he's like, like second guess, and he's like trying to peek around me to see if that was Pryor. And I just started laughing, and so I stepped back and let him look, like give him another, I don't know, just give him an opportunity to get a good look at him. And so yeah, then when we got up to when you get a ticket, so you turn your ticket in to get a ticket, and then the lady at front was like, John, you can just go in. And I'm just like, why are you so special? And he goes, well, where do you want me to sit? And he's like, over by the defendant side. And so he was like, okay. I never saw him again in the courtroom. I saw him after out in the hallways, but where I unfortunately was sitting was like, you have the jurors and then there's seating, and I was in the very, very back. And so, and Lori's here. And so I was trying to look at Lori, um, and see what her demeanor kind of was. And then, okay, so what else? I don't want you guys to be bored. So we go in, they bring the jurors in, and I'm all eyes on the jurors. Like, who are they? What do they look like? I mean, well, not unfortunately, but like, I mean, obviously I'm looking at age, race, everything, right? Just to get a better idea of like what the prosecutor wanted, what the defense wanted. I can tell you my guess is defense wanted men, and the prosecution wanted female. It is almost a split. It's a 10. So there's 10 male jurors and 8 women. There's 2 that are younger, like maybe, like there's one that might be late 20s and one early 30s. Everybody else is like 40 to 50 years old. Um, Everybody is Caucasian except for 2. I want to say one is maybe Hispanic and one is maybe of an Asian descent. So, and those 2 were males. Now, how it works is there's really 12 jurors, but we have 18 on the stand or in their seats. And at the end, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talk about this, but in the end, they're going to draw like a bingo number. And if you get 1 through 12, then you're the actual jury. So they do that at the end so that you can't, so that the jurors will pay attention the whole entire time. Because if they think that they're just like, if they're just, the, I don't know what you would call them, but, the extras or whatever, then they won't pay as much of attention. I noticed 2 men were kind of struggling in the beginning. They seem to come back around towards the end. I think they're just taking it all in. Majority are paying attention, but they're lost. Like, I can tell they're lost. Like, and that could be any jury selection. I mean, any. You're walking in and you have no idea. All you know is that it's a murder trial. Like, that's it, And so, how would they know? Because majority of these people had no idea what happened, which is great. So, they all walk in, they get seated. They had to get sworn in. They had to go over all their rules. Jewelry. Oh, dang it. I will look tomorrow. I barely could see her, and I will see if she has her fake ring on. I did wear my hair like Lori Vallow today with my little piggy tail. I had to do it. I'm sorry, you guys. Tomorrow I'll wear my hair normal. Uh, but I'm sure if you guys all know, once her curls kind of get like run down, she puts her hair in a little thingy, and it's like, brr. Anyway, so I did that. So I apologize, but I thought it was quite funny. And then, so what else? So then, this is when it kind of gets real serious. So they go over their rules and all that kind of stuff, and then they do opening statements. Now let's talk about the opening statements. So, sorry, I can see messages going through on the top. Okay, opening statements. Blake is the one that did them. She's the younger one with brown hair. Yes, total shishu, Maltese look, whatever you want to call it. I had to do it. Anyway, so it's so much, you guys. Okay, so let's talk about past trials. We just watched the Alex Murdaugh trial, right? And I did not watch the opening statements. I watched their closing statements. And let me tell you what. They were powerful. The difference in this case, and I don't know if it's going to be a bad thing, but they're very calm. So, like, this is Blake. Let me explain this to you. She'll be like, this case is about money, power, and sex. If anybody gets in the way, then they have to go. Like, that's how she talked. And I'm like, I'm expecting, you're going to see this person's passed away. This person's passed away. Like real, from the heart. Like, that's what I was expecting. And not that she did anything wrong, but I don't know how powerful it was. Does that make sense? Like, it was just so la-di-da. That's, I don't know if it's a Rexburg thing. I don't know if it's an Idaho thing. I don't know if we've just seen some really good trials lately, what it is. But all the prosecution is very soft spoken, very caring, which is good. But it's not very, I don't know. In an opening statement, I feel like you need to be very not demanding, but strong, I guess would be the word. So that's how I kind of feel. So they went into so Blake, that was her biggest thing was you know, power, power, money, and sex. That's what this case is all about, and that's how she said it. If anything gets in the way, then they have to go. So JJ got in the way, so he had to go. Tylee got in the way, so she had to go. Tammy got in the way, she had to go. It was very interesting, like how they're approaching this. Okay, they really go into the fact that this is conspiracy to commit murder. That only one or more needs to be involved for it to be a conspiracy. Either to tell them, and this was very, very interesting, to tell them, to show them, one person just has to say something to make it a conspiracy. So if she told Alex, go get rid of JJ, obviously she's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, right? But they have to prove that. And that's probably going to come later in like, emails and different things like that. So that has not come out yet. And then they went over pictures that were pretty hard. Let's talk about the pictures a little bit. They talked about Tylee. So literally, I hate to say this, but like, so they have a big screen up, and it's basically a projector, and there's a piece of, you can lay a piece of paper down, under the projector, and then it shows up on the screen. So the first one was of Tylee, and they said, these are the remains of Tylee. And it literally looks just like dirt with rock on it. And so obviously we know it's not rock, right? But that's how small the pieces were. They were pretty close to, getting away with Tylee's. Then they talked about JJ. And this is JJ's remains. And that one was hard because it was a real, body. So you didn't see anything that was gruesome in any form or fashion. Basically, he was wrapped in, black bags, trash bags, with duct tape over his head, like this. So you couldn't see. So basically, I believe they started here in the mouth and then just went all the way around. You could see a patch of his hair right here, and it was still like the same color as you see in the pictures of JJ. And so that was interesting that he was probably in still pretty good shape. And for them to be able to do an autopsy and stuff like that. So, and then they showed a picture of Tammy, and they said, this is Tammy. And they showed a picture of her laying. So I believe when you get an autopsy, you're like on a metal crate type thing, like a metal, I don't know, just like a metal bed, basically, where you just lay up on there. And and she looked very peaceful, arms crossed, or down by her side. She had like a very white, or a really pretty white outfit on. I want to say it was like a sheer, or, really nice cotton. I know, Michelle. I got 15 now. um, and like a sheer, outfit. Her face looked a little swollen. Definitely she had like dark circles here. So I don't know when this picture was taken, before or after they exhumed her. I'm not sure. Um, she seemed pretty peaceful for the most part, and they kept that up. They kept that picture up for the rest of her speech, basically. Um, and then she went into how, I want to say, like, how how her and Lori and Alex were very close, and that whatever Lori wanted, Alex would do, basically. Um, and then they talked about hands, and yes, they did. He did refuse the autopsy, but they still had to take her in and have her embalmed. So I'm not. That's why I'm not sure, because she looked really well. Like, she didn't look like any decay, if that makes sense. Sorry, if you need to look at chat, 'cause I'm answering chat too. But she just didn't really look decayed at any point in that picture. So I don't know how well, your body will actually hold itself, together after so many months. But she looked good in the picture. Then, so their big thing is power, money, and sex. That's what the prosecution really, really pushed. And that if anybody got in the way, that she had to go. So JJ got in the way because she wanted to go with Chad. JJ had to go. Tammy had to go because she wanted Chad. And Tylee got in the way. What was their reasoning for Tylee? I think just got in the way, like, in general. And then, they start talking about hands, like, being basically taken by the hands of, another. And they showed a picture of, they said, obviously, Tylee doesn't have any hands, and showed the picture again. Then they showed the picture of JJ, and his hands are, let me explain to you how they are. So his hands were like this, like if your hands were like down by your side, and they were completely wrapped from pretty much like probably here, elbow, all the way over here, all the way across. It was pretty sad. And when they showed that one, the entire court gasped. Like, they were like, like, you know what I mean? Because you could see him, and like, it was just a shock to see his hands all tied up, um, or duct tied together, and then they showed Tammy's hands, and I don't know why they were showing her hands, unless there's gonna be something later. She had a few like little bumps on her hands, like little red dots, and like the tips of her fingers were red. So I don't know if like after you pass, if your fingers would change. But basically she was like, she'll never use her hands again. And then they showed the pictures of Chad and Lori when, their wedding pictures with their rings, their malachite rings. And so basically they're saying these people are gone by these hands, basically. So, So then after that, Archibald came up. I mean, and after that she just went over like what does it mean, conspiracy. It could be, someone just telling you to do something, someone hinting to do something, you know what I mean? Like along those lines. And that the judge would, explain to them, um, how to, like, if there's reasonable doubt and that kind of stuff. So that was a good 10 minutes of that. Really, they did not get, prosecution really didn't go deep into where or like how each of them were gone. They just basically did an overview. Then Archibald had the option to make an opening statement. And this is when it kind of gets interesting, you guys, because what I'll go into it in a minute, but it's, I don't even know how to say this. So he gets up there. Let's just go through this. Archibald gets up there. He starts talking about how he says who he is. He's been, a lawyer for 30 something years. I think it was like 35 years. He's done 27 murder cases. Um, and he says, majority of the time, we will settle in a plea. And 1%, we don't. And that's where you come into play. You get to settle this. Like, it's almost like it's just like, well, she didn't want to settle, and we can't get anywhere with her, so now it's up to you jurors to do it. Like I'm that's exactly what I felt. It was the craziest thing. Um, then he says, you're gonna hear about Alex and how did he put it? Basically, like, you are. I'm sorry if I'm stuttering, you guys. I'm just trying to remember everything accurately. He says, still very hard to sit through. Yes, it is very hard to sit through. Um, so so he says you're gonna. Lori has an alibi. That's what he says. Lori has an alibi. JJ, you know, passed in Alex's apartment, and Lori was not in her apartment. She was with Melanie and what's his name, Warwick. I can't remember his first name. Sorry. Um, but with Melanie Gibb, and she wasn't there. And then when Tammy passed away, she was in Hawaii. She wasn't there. Okay, well, but so that's Lori's alibi. So he kind of says it like that. Like, that's her alibi. And he goes over conspiracy. He says, if he says it, the state mentions to you that it's, conspiracy could be, a text, an email, being a part of it, in some form or fashion. But he says, so how can it, if the state is giving you all these choices, how can you determine if it really happened or not? Like, it was weird. And that was his only, like, kind of defense. And he, thanks him for being there. It was the weirdest thing, you guys. I'm not joking. It's like, okay, so he goes on, but let me explain to you how this process is working in the courtroom. State brings up a witness. They ask them their questions. Thomas comes up and basically reiterates whatever they said, like questions any questions they're not sure of, and then doesn't ask them any other questions. Nothing. Just okay, that's it, and goes. Like they have nothing. They have nothing, if you were to ask me. Um they are going with the flow of whatever comes out. No joke. Um I don't think they're gonna have any witnesses. I If they do, it's gonna be Lori. I did not see any of Lori's family. Um Larry and Kay were front and center. Um I know that I believe Jerry and I'm not sure what her name is. I apologize. Um she so some of their family was there. And then I did not see not one person for Lori. I didn't see Summer yet. I didn't see Colby. I didn't see anybody like that. Not at this point. Um, okay, so then we go to break, come back from break, and they called Kay Woodcock. Yes, thank you. Melanie and Jerry Vallow were there. And there was a couple of the family members. I just don't know who they were. But definitely Kay and Larry have a lot of good support. So they call Kay Woodcock up first. You could tell it was very, very hard for her. Like so that one was done by Rob Wood. So Rob Wood was the one that questioned her. Started from the beginning, like all the way from the beginning, like how JJ was born. Um, they showed basically documents of when he was born, to his true parents, which were Kay's sons and girlfriend. And unfortunately, JJ was born with um, things in his body, drugs, okay, in his body. So the state took him, and that's when Kay took him over immediately from NICU. He was born 30 weeks, so 10 weeks early. He was in NICU, and then from there, Kay and Larry had him. I want to say for like 9 months, 10 months, maybe they had him. Um, and their evidence that they turned in was birth certificate, the original, then the adoption paperwork of Lori and Charles when they adopted him, and then his next birth certificate, which shows his name as the JJ Vallow, um, Joshua Jackson Vallow, and they wanted like the defense was like trying to strike his real birth certificate. I don't even understand it. I was just like, what in the world? Like so they won one strike out of the entire day. Um, it was hilarious. So I have to tell you this about Judge Boyce. It's so funny. So Judge Boyce is like at one point Thomas struck, whatever it was. I can't even remember. And but the person had already answered the question. And he's like, well, it was too late. And he just shrugged his head. Sorry, you were too late striking it. It's already done. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So it's very interesting inside that courtroom. I'm not joking. So they go through, like I said, they go through adoption, all the paperwork, and then so they kind of go through just the JJ's life basically, and then they showed a picture um of JJ up on the screen. And before they showed it up on the screen, this is so weird. This is what they struck it about. Oh no, well, we'll get to that. That was when Brandon went on. Anyway, so Kay is looking at this picture and just starts crying because that's her favorite picture of him. Okay, they put it up on the screen and it's him. I think he has an orange or green shirt on and he's got his seatbelt on and he's just a cute little guy. Um, Horrible. So they went over that, and then they went over like why Kay felt it was good for Lori and Charles to take him in adoption. At the time, Larry was 65. She mentioned that I thought this was interesting. This is something, a little tidbit I had no idea. But she said, even though Charles was 7 years older than me, he's like a 25-year-old and can run circles around me. And Lori was 17 years younger than Charles. I had no idea of that. They looked about the same age. So yeah, Charles was in very good shape. Um, and so that was kind of, some new information that I hadn't heard. Um, then I'm trying to think, you guys. I totally went off la la land there. Anyway, so she talks about why they were a good fit for JJ. Well, they both had two kids of their own, and they wanted one together. And so at that point, that's when JJ came into play. Charles wanted to adopt him. She felt that Lori was a good mom, was in the community, um, went to church, was just a very good natured person. I mean, Kay really gave her the jury the look of her like she was a great person, like a great mom. It's pretty crazy. And then all the way up until when Charles and Lori were going to get a divorce the first time. And that's when he moved to Texas. I wasn't aware of this, but Kay would visit. She said every like 3 months she would visit JJ, and then once he was able to do FaceTime and stuff like that, then they would do FaceTime all the time. Um, and then they would. Sorry, I keep seeing all these things popping up on top, and I'm trying to read everything. Um, and uh, so she moves to Texas, or Charles is in Texas, gets JJ, because that was during the time that she, Lori, mysteriously disappeared for 58 days in Hawaii, which is when Tammy, I believe that happened to Tammy, or maybe that was the first time she went to Hawaii, but they didn't know where she was at. Charles had no idea, and that's when when she came back was when everything kind of fell apart, when he got her the place in Arizona. So during that time, but this was interesting, during that time, Kay was helping him with his business. He was helping with um, with JJ. She would drive. It would be like 150 miles. So she said it was like 2.5 hours, and that she would drive and help him and stay for like a week, and go home on the weekends or whatever. And so Kay was really filling in during that time, and then Lori came back, and I guess at some point Kay had recorded the conversation about her freaking out. And at that point, Thomas was like, "This is hearsay. Like, you didn't record." Basically, they didn't know you were recording her. And she says, "Well, is in the same, pretty much, they're like the other room, but at the same time, it was like basically like a kitchen and a dining room. So it was pretty much right there. So it wasn't anything um, that couldn't have been recorded, but that was when Lori like flipped out and was like, just started being her crazy self. So they did say that this all started in 2018. when she first met Chad at a Preparing a People event. So that's all accurate information we were hearing. Um, then I'm trying to think. That was pretty much it with Kay. It seemed longer because it was broken up from break, to break. And then after that, then um, Brandon, so Brandon came after lunch. Brandon Birdo. I can't even say it. I'm not going to even try, you guys. Brandon, okay, Melanie Pulowski's ex-husband. So the big thing with that one is they did not want to bring in the fact that Alex had shot at him. And so they had a big deliberation about that. And the state basically said, we will prove why this is going to, be important later on. And it shows that if somebody gets in the way, that they have to go. So that's why it was really important for Brandon to be able to talk about when he was shot. So basically, Brandon got up there. Kay cried. Let's go back. Kay cried when I missed a big part with Kay. I'm sorry. Kay cried with the picture of JJ, and then she went into the fact of, because she was helping. So since she was helping with the whole business aspect of things for Charles and payroll and all that, she had access to the email and all that kind of stuff. And when they cleared out, the house, she went on and noticed his email was still on there after he had passed, and like his login stuff. And then that's when she found the Amazon and the Amazon searches for the malachite ring and the wedding dress, the white beach wedding dress. She said like size large for pants for Charles or Chad, and a shirt, and she thought a pair of flip-flops. So, so you could see where they were going with that, just proving that it was it was before Tammy had passed away. So, and then they show, obviously the pictures of the malachite rings that they, you know, got married with. So, then Brandon got up there. They went through how many kids he had, that kind of stuff. So he has 4 kids. His oldest 2 were really, really close with JJ. JJ loved being around them. JJ loved playing with them. Um, they were just really, really close. And he even teared up talking about that. Then he went into how Melanie never really was into the church. This was interesting because it went from she was not really involved in the church until the end of their marriage, basically, and she was going to the temple every day. So she was going to the temple every day because that's whatever they had going on, in their little thing. They called it, and I had not heard this. They called it. Firesides. So I had never heard that wording before. So he talks about how Lori would, or I'm sorry, how Melanie was not into the ward. He had a hard time getting her there, and till the end, she started going to these fireside arrangements that were supposed to be at the temple every day. But he then learned they weren't really at the temple and it had nothing to do with the church. And so he went. Let's see what else. He really went into how he was close with Tylee, Colby. He didn't go into how close he was with Colby, and it's probably just not needed. But how close he was with Tylee and how he was the one that baptized Tylee at 8 years old. And for whatever reason, Charles didn't feel comfortable doing it, so Brandon did it. So that was news. That was new news. Then he talked about um, the really, really hard part was he was the one that identified JJ's body. So he really, 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 really broke down during that time. Um, at that point, they get kind of let him take a break a little bit. They asked him when, where he was at when he found out that they had passed. He's like at my mom's or my parents' house in the garage, and just he couldn't say garage loud enough. And the recorder lady, she was like, "Where?" And he like just like I mean, almost just like burst into like full on tears. It was the saddest thing, I'm telling you. And then and then he talked about um how close his kids were, how his kids really missed JJ, playing with JJ. Then he went into how only 5 people knew where he lived when he moved. Because I guess at one point Melanie wasn't letting him have the kids because he said, "I just want to be able to tuck them in each night," and she refused to let him in the house. So he wanted to get a house as soon as possible because they were selling their house. So they sold the house. He just got a rental, and that's when he dropped off 2 of the kids at school, one of them at a daycare, and the baby with Melanie. And then when he left there, he went to the gym and then went home, and the Jeep was sitting there waiting for him. And that's when his car was shot at. He talks about how it was a Jeep Wrangler, how he knew the VIN number, and they had to explain why he knew the VIN number. It was because he ran insurance for Charles at one point with all the vehicles. So that's why he had the VIN number. The defense was kind of like, "Why do you have the VIN number?" Like, it was very weird. Like, the defense is just weird. I'm not joking you. You guys will get to hear the audio, and it's just weird. I can do audio if you guys want. So once they release the audio, we can go through it commentarily. Because I won't be able to be at court every day. Like, I'll be there this week, Monday and Tuesday, and then I can go over the the audio if that's something anybody's interested in. So and then we had a break, and then he came back, and they were pretty much done with Brandon. Oh no, that's when. So during the break is when they determined if he could talk about the shooting, and they really wanted to prove that it was about the money, and how Melanie's money would help with the 144,000 basically. So obviously that was them saying, okay, well, if Brandon was to pass, then she would get $1 million. That would be Melanie's money to help with, this mission that they're on, basically. So that's why it was really important for them to talk about it, the shooting, because it just proved another side of him, or another side of this story, and that they said Melanie Pulowski was like, she looked up to Lori like a mom. And they did a lot of stuff together as families together. She tried at one point, "Oh, we need to invest $10,000 in food storage." And, Brandon's like, whoa, what is going on? And then, so then after the shooting, he remembered the emails that Charles had sent out to everybody and all the family members and was like, he was just like, I need to figure out more, like what is going on. And so that's when he started to, he for the next like month or so, he started Googling and learning about Chad Daybell. And when he was Googling, he saw Tammy's, obituary, like October 24th or something like that. Um, and so Brandon was shot at on October 2nd. Um, and they talked about, um, yeah, him finding her obituary. And at that point, that's when he went to, the prosecution, or, to the officers, and did reports on it. And, tried to piece it all together at that point. And prosecution was like, oh, you went and saw, like, they were really hard on, they're trying to pin, they want evidence thrown out. The defense is trying to get anything that the prosecutors haven't turned over, they want it thrown out. So they're trying to say, like, when Kay was there, she like had to verify, like, so when Kay was up on stand, she was verifying a phone number, the two phone numbers that Lori would call her from. And they were like, they questioned her, where'd you get that piece of paper from? Who did you turn it into? And like she's like, the prosecutors. Oh, so you've had meetings with prosecutors. We want this thrown out. We don't have any evidence of you having meeting with prosecutors. So it was like they were trying to throw things out, and it was getting scary on that part of it, because we all know that the prosecution hasn't done a very good job with the evidence part of it, and turning over, paperwork. Um, so it's like, oh my gosh, what if something didn't get turned over later and it gets thrown out because they didn't turn it over. So I'm really worried about something later on like that happening. Because that seems to be the only way they have anything, honestly. So they went over, so then he was like, oh, you turned this into the officer, you had talks with the officer, we don't have any of that. Well, and I'm sitting there going, no, because that's in Chandler. Wasn't here in Idaho. It has nothing to do with this case in all reality. Like that, Brandon turning in that kind of stuff, that's going to come in the next case, with Charles. So, but once he saw that Tammy had passed away, he started putting two and two together, and that's when it all came together. So, and then I guess he got remarried, and once he got remarried, he married, and then the next day he felt he needed to. It was when the kids were found, and he felt he needed to be there, and he went up there, and it was never really said they were gonna have Larry identify JJ's body, but then he didn't have, Brandon felt like that wasn't a good idea for Larry to do, so he took it upon himself, and they asked him, or they thought it was the best situation was for Brandon to identify JJ's body, and he had a hard time with that. I do not feel like Brandon is stable. I'll be honest with you. Between the divorce, the craziness, we all know he won some big lawsuit, I think a couple million, because of like the divorce and all kinds of crazy, I don't know it all, um, on that end of it, but he did win quite a bit of money. It looked like his wife was with him. She seemed nice, well put together, blonde hair. Um, they said to him, check this out. They said Melanie when they were talking about the divorce, they said, well, don't you think that Melanie was getting a divorce because she thought, because God told her you were gay? What? What? I'm like, okay, sure. So he's like, you know, no, like, no. And he goes, well, what about the pictures from the pink pig or something like that? Like, there was pictures on Facebook of like some place called the Pink Pig in like Alabama or something like that, and supposedly it might be, you know, you know, a gay bar or something like that. So she felt that he was gay. So, um, anyway, so that was kind of the interesting twist on things there. And he was like, no, it's on my Facebook. Like, I'm not trying to hide something. It was a bar that I went to. So that was kind of good. And then defense couldn't say anything. Like, they had nothing to say. Like, they have nothing. It is the weirdest. It's almost like, you know how John's like, Pryor's like, I don't have time. I don't have time to go through all this evidence, all this stuff. And, you know, Archibald's like, we're ready. We're ready. And I'm like, okay, so Pryor doesn't have any evidence, or it doesn't have any time. Archibald's ready, and they are not saying a word. It's weird. It's like they're just trying to strike anything they can, basically. That's it. It's so strange. Um, and then, so Brandon was done. He left. I thought he was just going to break down and just like curl up in a ball and cry. I really feel horrible for him. Um, I saw Lori wipe her eyes one time, but I seriously think it was wiping her eyes. Like almost like, you know, if you get mascara or something, like you're just like wiping underneath to get like the mascara or something. Because when she did it during that time, there was nothing that was like sad or anything. So she could just be pulling an Alex Murdaugh thing, you know, and just randomly get tissues because she really didn't show any remorse. She didn't show. I noticed it was interesting when the prosecutors were doing their opening statement, she kept doing this. She just kept shaking her head and like, nope, that's not right, or no, I can't believe you're saying that about me. You know, and it's like, you are dumb. That's my opinion. You should have took a plea. Like, I'm not. I, I'm sure that this jury will see right through them. My honest opinion. Or see right through her. Um, it's just strange. I will be honest. There. This is kind of my thought. So, Archibald was picked because it was a death penalty case, right? Thomas, I don't know his first name, but his last name is Thomas, the bigger guy. Um, he's doing all the questioning. So Archibald is basically like it's almost like a tree. Okay, so you got Archibald that's like here, and then you got Lori and Thomas over here. Lori's got to put in her, you know, pretend like she's, you know, a part of it, you know, being participating or whatever. And then Thomas is the one asking questions and going over everything. And she's just like, or he's just like there, I think, to have like a murder trial under his belt. No joke. It's strange. Um like I said, like he kind of said early on, 1% makes it to trial. Murder trials. 1%. And that's why you're here, is to make the decision. I mean, am I the only one thinking that sounds crazy? I just, I don't know. Tomorrow, I hope they kind of get their poop in a pile because, in all reality, it's not good to not have a good defense. because that's when it comes into play of having a mistrial, that they weren't competent enough. Luckily, the DP is off the table, so that shouldn't take place now. If this was a DP case, I'm gonna tell you what, they weren't ready. No. Um, Maybe they're just filling out, like, kind of getting a feel for everything. Um, so I don't know. There wasn't much that I didn't know. Um, I did hear on the way home, I was listening to a couple people, and they made it sound like Tylee had passed over at Alex's, and I don't think that's true. Because when I was listening to them, I want to say, I remember specifically them saying, she was at her apartment, and that's when JJ came home, right, over Alex's shoulder, and sleeping peacefully, and Tylee was already gone at that point. So she doesn't have an alibi for Tylee. I do not believe so. I find it interesting that you're going to say you have an alibi for 2, but not 3. So at this point, Lori's giving guilt. I mean, at this point, with Lori saying she has an alibi, is saying she knew that it happened. There's your conspiracy. She's done. She knew, and she did not. She did not turn it in. She didn't say where they were at. She didn't go looking for them. Nothing. Nothing. And they talked about that. Nothing. She did nothing to find her kids. Never has. So, yeah, it's a. I don't know why she didn't take a plea. I'm thankful because I got to be there. This is my first, court case to. Well, this was my first true crime case I ever followed, and this was my first court case I've ever been in. So I do want to follow, after this, I want to follow the Idaho 4 case and my baby Dylan Rounds. I will try to, he's not my real baby, you guys. He's a case out of Utah, and so he's been missing. His body has still not been found, and that's a strange one. So I will be following with that. I do a lot of art, so I thought the name Crafts and Crime went good together. So at some point when I get a desk or something, all set up, I would absolutely love to, like, make some stuff, paintings, do fun cups like Lori Vallow cups, or, we can make some other cups. I won't make a cup for Tylee and JJ, because I will not make money off of them. I refuse. I may make some and give them away or something, but I don't. I just can't. I can't make a profit off of something like that. Yeah, Michelle's the one that came up with the name. Yes, she did. Crafts and Crime. So tomorrow, please let me know what you guys think, how I went over this, and then pretty much, Brandon left, and they closed court at 3:20, and that was it. So tomorrow, the first person on the stand is supposed to be, oh gosh, what is his name? He is the agent that spoke in pretrial. Michelle, what is his name? He's the officer that went looking for him originally, and it's a kind of a weird name. Did I write his name down? He's bald. You know his name. Yeah. Hermosillo. I don't know how to say it. You guys. He's a pretty cute guy, bald. He was in pretrial, on Chad's pretrial, and he was the officer that spoke. So If they're going like pre-trial, then Melanie Gibb could come up tomorrow. I kind of think. They did talk about Zulema will be on stand at some point. So Zulema will be there. Melanie Gibb will be there. I think they even said Pulowski. And there was a girl from Missouri that I had never heard of. I do not know her name. At one point, Lori went to Missouri, and Zulema was there. And there's another girl. Yes, Audrey. Yeah, so she's going to be on trial. I've never heard anything about Audrey. That probably all came out with the filings from the Chandler stuff, and I did not read through all of that stuff, so that was new to me. So anyway, if you guys like it, please subscribe. I do want to grow this channel, and I will be at court tomorrow, and then after that I'll have to be going, go through audio at that point. So I will try and go once or twice a week if I can find people to pick up my children, which has been difficult, but I had some good help today and tomorrow. And I will try my best, even if maybe I go half days or something. I did get a seat in the courthouse tomorrow. I was seat number 50. So thank you guys all for watching. Please write in your comments if you like this, if you don't like it, if it's too much, if I'm all over the place, however I can make it better. Please do share your thoughts. It's, it will encourage me. You have a good night too, Michelle. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe, and I will see you soon, probably tomorrow about the same time. Thank you.